Now that we have the adjusting journal entries finished, the next thing we really need to do is post those all to the ledger. And so we can do that, and then we have to do another trial balance. But a shortcut way to do it is using a worksheet where we can just see, since we don't adjust every single account, we can just look at the ones that we changed and go from there. So this is the trial balance that you had at the end of the problem before we did these adjusting journal entries. And if you go back and look, that's our balance. And so what we want to do is go through and change or adjust each one of the accounts that we change. So we take these entries over here and post them over there. So everything's for the same amount on the credits. I'm going to go ahead and. So cash we didn't change. Generally, we go through the order we have them here. So we've got depreciation expense that we increased. So I've already written in depreciation expense down here for the building. My debits go there. So this is 170 for my debit. And I have accumulated depreciation here for 170. Normally in this reference column, you put some kind of indication of where that journal entry is. So it'd be adjusting journal entry 1 or 2. I've got them, have them numbered. Sometimes you use A's and B's. I've got them numbered 1 and 2, so we'll make them a 1. So that's where that journal entry is. Notice in my trial balance, I didn't have depreciation expense, so you just type it in. You just add it to the bottom. We don't worry about the order in which the accounts show up. So we do the same thing. We have depreciation expense for the equipment. So that's over here for 686. That's my second journal entry. Here I've got a spot for accumulated depreciation. And that's what we mean by it being a contra asset. It goes in with the other assets, but it has a credit balance. So our next one is interest expense and interest payable. Well, I didn't have that in my original accounts at all. So I'm just going to have to add those to the bottom. So my interest expense, this is entry 3, is for 343, and I have an interest payable of 343, and that's the other half of that. Supplies expense, I didn't have a place for supplies expense, so I had to add that below. So that's 158. But I did have supplies because that's what I was adjusting to start with. Supplies here was 200. I need to credit that for 158, and that's entry number 4. And so see, I've got 200 minus 158. It's going to give me that 42 that I really have as an asset still. Prepaid rent, I made an entry for 1,100 back in my regular journal entries, but I only want half of that to show up as an asset still. So I need to reduce that. And this is my adjusting journal entry. So credit for 550, a debit to my rent expense, and that's entry number 5. So I had my payroll for the last couple days. I already had some salaries expense because I paid them for the first week. So I just need to increase that account by 1320, and that's entry 6. But I didn't have a salary payable, so I have to add that down here for the 1320. And that will cover those couple days, those 3 days. And then last but not least, Pharrell repaired those instruments. So we've got a little bit more revenue. So my revenue is here. Notice I need to credit that. That's entry number 7. And I'm just doing it in the order I find them since I'm scrolling around. Accounts receivable has to go up for the 2,900. Whoops. And that's entry number 7. So that's how you post your adjustments to the worksheet. Now you still have to go put them in the general ledger, but you get some flunky to do that. Then our adjusted trial balance, we're going to take for the things with a normal credit balance, you're going to take the debit. If there's another debit in here, you're going to add it, plus there. If it's a credit, I'm going to subtract it. If you do it right, you can copy this down right up until you get something with a credit balance. So notice my accounts receivable is way bigger because I made that last minute sale. My supplies are sitting at $42, what I've got on the shelf. My prepaid rents, the rent for February, that seems okay. Since this is 0, I can kind of sneak that one through. My equipment hasn't changed, but I can, if I want to copy, quick way to do it is Control-C will copy and Control-V will paste. On the things with the credit, for those, if there's a debit, I need to subtract it. If there's a credit, I need to add it. Just pull that down and copy it as well. Now I've got some expenses. I copy this again, and I'm going to paste it. So we're going to kind of shortcut this. Just be real careful that you remember these are, add the debits if it's a debit, add credits that are both credits, and subtract them if they go the opposite direction. I was really lucky. It balanced for me. First time I did this, I think it was like this one. I put over on that side, and it's not going to balance. If that's the case, what you want to do when it doesn't balance is take this number and divide by 2, then look around for that number. If it's there, it means you got a debit instead of a credit. You need to scoot it to the other side. If you transpose a number, let's say this was, I made 185. You want to take that difference and divide it by 9. If it comes out even, that tells you that you transposed a number. In this one, it means it's in the first spot. So look at things, you know, if something like these hundreds, it can't be that one. It's got to be something with 2 numbers in there. 158. The last thing you can do, if you just like leave something out, also do the subtraction and just look for that number and go, okay, got this one here and I forgot to put it on the other side. So those are the ways you can look for errors if those things don't balance, and they seldom do the first time. In fact, this is the second time I've done this. It miraculously did work. These should balance, and these should balance.